Welcome again, Dadhichi here from astrology.com.au. I'd like to consider myself a revisionist, a revisionary astrologer, if I could use that term. I find astrology has pretty much become like religion or some of the more conservative sectors of science, even some of the arts, which have become somewhat dogmatic, pardon me, in the way of presenting the truth of their specific discipline. Unfortunately for astrology, it's become a bit of a mishmash. It's very splintered. There are two completely different systems, what's called the Western tropical system, the Eastern sidereal system or Vedic astrology, and each of these camps within its own ranks is very much like Christianity, which has hundreds of different cults. You've got the humanistic astrologers, the karmic astrologers, the practical down-to-earth astrologers, the Jungian astrologers, and then on the other side you've got the sidereal astrology, which has its own camps. You've got the Parashara camp, the Jaimini camp. You have discrepancies in the precessional values, which give us the distinction between the Western and the Vedic. And neither of these camps is prepared to concede, generally speaking, that the other may actually have something that can work in tandem with seamlessly if people were open enough. But that's the problem. People aren't open enough. People hold fast to their dogmas. And irrespective of that, this revisionary component that I'm talking about, this fresh view of astrology, which in the first place hopes to bridge the Eastern and the Western distance, the dichotomy between these two different zodiacs, but also the desire to verify, verification of what we read, rather than just accepting that as truth, is a big pill to swallow. Mainly because humans are essentially lazy and they don't really want to relearn everything. But my teacher, whom I've had, he's like my Indian mentor in Vedic astrology since 1995, has always basically encouraged me to, he's actually dissuaded me from reading too many books, although I've read a lot of books, and has been more for the research side of things. And from that, it's led me on to some interesting studies. For example, I can give you an example. In Western astrology and even Vedic astrology, Leo, the fire sign, and Aries, the fire sign, these are the trinal fire signs, the third one being Sagittarius. But at least these two, Aries and Leo, are supposedly an incredibly good match. Now on my website I also write up about how these two fire signs are quite well suited to each other. But then you start to research, you start to open your mind and your heart, and you think, well, why are they well suited to each other? Because all these books say so? No. Well, there's an interesting book up here that I have by a gentleman called, let me have a look, here it is. Here. The Astrology File by Gunter Sachs. And this is a fascinating book because, it's on astrology and birth dates, but it's actually based upon the finding of Sachs on hundreds of thousands of birth data from insurance companies. It's interesting. And why is this so relevant? Because we can look at statistically the people born in Aries who were married to people born in Leo and how many of them actually divorced. And it's an extremely high number if you take a look at the sample, say from this book. And then you look at the expected frequency of divorce between any combination of star signs, and you see that that is statistically a pretty high number. Meaning, these books, at least to some extent, are wrong about astrology. Okay, I guess now I'm a heretic astrologically. Well, I'm not really a heretic. I'm a revisionary astrologer. I want to revise as science, as any sort of intellectual discipline will do, to supposed facts or figures that just aren't right. So what we're hoping to do here at astrology.com.au, and personally as an astrologer, is to really use data like this. Let's start putting that together. I've got 14,000 horoscopes of my own that I've stored away with copious notes on 200 of those horoscopes. And on top of that, there's about 800 to 1,000 hours of recorded readings that I've done, and astrological lectures, so on and so forth. So with that data, and it works like Gunter Sachs, which is, it's just straight numbers. I mean, the numbers don't lie. They can be skewed, but if you just look at that raw data, we have to at least say, look, we can't simply blindly accept on faith the premise of astrology in certain areas. And really that's the case with any discipline. Science too has its revisionary moments where it needs to accept, hey, the models that we've had just don't work. For example, certain physics principles start to get a bit skewed and not even applicable in the subatomic areas, in the quantum areas. So likewise, I think we need to take a vertical view of astrology, not just this same old linear medieval view of what constitutes astrology, what is deemed to be the correct way to read a horoscope. We need the raw data. We need data like this that can help us revise, and in that revision take astrology to its rightful place along with the rest of the arts and sciences. And that's not going to happen as long as we have these two camps fighting over what's right. We have these other branches of astrology that can't agree amongst themselves. In short, as I argue with Christians who have all these different cults, if the truth was so clear, you wouldn't have 300 camps. You don't have someone in Germany in a science lab there refuting the Newtonian laws of gravity with someone in Washington or Sydney or Nairobi. Scientists everywhere agree on the specifics and the laws that govern nature, either straight Newtonian physics or in the subatomic level. There are other theories and laws that they're adhered to, and they are universal principles. We don't have that in astrology, and as a revisionary astrologer, I want to take these first steps now to bring that out into the open, and I invite you to help us. If you've got any interesting information or you'd like to take part in our research initiative at astrology.com.au, you can email me here. I'm going to leave my email address, and we can send you the Excel file which just has some questions, and that gives us the data from people themselves as to what's happened when they were married, how many kids they had, when their parents died, when they were sick, when they travelled, all sorts of information that will help us to refine the database that we have to get more data like what Gunter Sachs is doing. And I hope you can help us with that, because it's going to help the cause of astrology, and that's going to better equip me as an astrologer to help you in far greater ways as well too. So thanks for listening again. I'm going to get on now with the 12 star signs readings. I'm going to do my best, even though we are using some of the standard principles of astrology. A lot of them work. I'm not saying all of them should be debunked, but I'm saying we can even keep refining those and becoming better in terms of what we have to offer you, our visitor. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon, and see you again next month. Bye-bye.